A beautiful rendition of our Star Spangled Banner by the Port Huron Northern Husky cheerleaders tonight as we get set to begin tonight's big inter-city clash Eastern Michigan League showdown from Port Huron Northern High School. Good evening, everyone. My name's Eric Rucker. Joining us, Randy Fernandez here in our CPHS Channel 12 booth. Randy, it's the red and white against the blue and gold.
Oh, emotions are high for this one, Eric. This is the last regular season game before the district tournament. And for once, I applaud the fans that came out. We've got a packed gymnasium tonight. This is what it's all about just before March Madness. I look for a good ball game.
Set to go. Starting lineups quickly for Port Huron High. Giancarlo, Brett Mullins, Jeff Zuloff, Cedric Rogers, and Andrew Diggins on the floor for the Huskies. Jan Miller, LaFonce Jackson, Matt Jameson, John Davenport, Eric Bloomquist. We're set to go here at Northern. The ball controlled by Bloomquist to Miller. Our officials, as assigned by Eastern Michigan League tonight, Jet Boss and Cecil Haggard. In the middle, Jan Miller for the drive, and Northern takes an early 2-0 lead.
Jan Miller, the senior playing his last home game, asserted himself, got the ball from Eric Bloomquist on the tip, took it all the way coast to coast. Port Huron Northern leads 2-0.
Jeff Zuloff now off to Rogers. Back to Zuloff. That's Jeff Zuloff, the sophomore for Port Huron High. Andrew Diggins now from 14 is good. We're tied. I would say, Randy, that it's going to be the Big Reds youth movement against the experience of the Huskies tonight. LaFonce Jackson from short range, and we're up and down quickly. Northern by 2.
Well, 1,000% so far. 3 shots taken, 3 shots made.
Giancarlo, top of the key, guarded by Jackson. Pass now to Jeff Zuloff. He's guarded by Matt Jameson. Now it's off to Rogers, Cedric Rogers. Bounce pass top of the key, tipped away by Jameson. And the ball goes out of bounds. Last touch by a Northern player. Port Huron High will put the ball in play along the sidelines. 6:50 to go, first quarter. Northern by 2 here early. Mullins off to Diggins. And he's going to be whistled for the travel. It looked like he had the lane open there, Randy, just didn't put the ball to the floor.
No, he held on to it a little bit too long, but you can see Andy Diggins there is really asserting himself. He made his first basket, was looking to score again, and I talked with Coach Ed Peltz before the game, and he expects a good game from Mr. Diggins.
Miller off to Jackson, back to Miller. Now it's Jameson, back to Miller. Big Reds employing a 2-3 zone. Northern quickly with the ball passing. LaFonce Jackson off the glass is good. Northern now by 4, 6:25 to go first quarter.
LaFonce beat his man baseline there. Let's think back to January 27th when these first two teams met. LaFonce came off the bench. This time he's the starter, and I know he likes that starting role a lot better than coming off the bench as a reserve.
Cedric Rogers taking the ball in the lane. He's going to be fouled by Northern's Jan Miller. His first and team's first. Shooting 2, Cedric Rogers, a 5'11", 150-pound senior. This is the first. He'll get the second as he was fouled in the act of shooting. As Randy mentioned, it's good to see a jam-packed gymnasium here at Poyer Northern High School. The final home game for Northern, the final regular season game for both teams. Jeff Zuloff now will take a break as he appears to have been injured. A slight cut near the eye. He'll be attended by Coach Pelt. Is number 40, Ryan Mullins, for Poyer High. Ryan is a 6 foot, 160-pound sophomore.
Well,
You're going to see a lot of underclassmen for the Big Reds.
Oh, that's for sure. They had a major youth movement here about a month ago for Poyer High, and Ryan Mullins was promoted up to the varsity. Jeff Zuloff seems to be okay. He got cut there when him and Matt Jamison collided for the loose ball. I'm sure you'll see him back in a minute or two.
Big Reds now applying full court pressure. LaFonce Jackson breaks it easily. Bounce pass to Bloomquist off the glass. No, blocked by Brett Mullins. Nice block by Brett Mullins. Now it's Ryan Mullins off to Giancarlo. Tony Giancarlo, top of the key, guarded by Jackson. Ball handed off to Cedric Rogers. Rogers now dribbles to his right, goes in the middle. Hands it off to Ryan Mullins along the lane. He's going to be called for the double dribble, and Northern will take over following the turnover.
For our viewers out there, the next time down court, watch Brett Mullins and Eric Bloomquist go at it. Brett blocked Eric's shot the last time down and followed him all the way down and talked to him all the way down the court.
LaFonce Jackson on the drive will score off the glass. It's now 8-2, and Northern's up by 6 here with 5:38 to go, first quarter.
Well, I've watched LaFonce Jackson all season, and so far in the first 3 minutes, he's played better than I've seen him play all year, Eric.
He's hyped up tonight, that's for sure. Diggins back to Giancarlo now. Giancarlo into Diggins. Diggins guarded by Bloomquist from 14, won't go. Rebound by Matt Jamison as he goes high for the board. Off to Jan Miller. Miller now wisely sets it up, gives it off to John Davenport. Davenport into Eric Bloomquist. Takes it in the middle. Shot goes up and scores.
Well, Eric's 6'5", and Poyer High doesn't have a guy taller than 6'3", and he's on the bench in the fine freshman Terry Miller. So they're going to pack it into Eric Bloomquist as much as they can tonight.
Giancarlo off to Ryan Mullins. Northern has scored 8 straight points. They lead 10-2. Giancarlo to Mullins. Mullins guarded by Jamison. Off to Diggins. Diggins in the paint, goes up strong, won't go. Rebound down by Davenport. Off to Miller. Across the timeline. Pass into Matt Jamison. Top of the key, Davenport over to Jackson. Now it's Davenport back to Jackson. Davenport to Miller. Cross to Jackson. From 18, no good. Rebound down by Brett Mullins. He gives it off to Cedric Rogers, and the Big Reds now come down. From 3, Brett Mullins' shot won't go. And the ball's tipped away out of bounds to Northern.
Well, Brett threw up a three-pointer. Unfortunately, he didn't hit anything. But I tell you, it's good to see that Brett take the shot. So far, it looks like only T.J. Diggins is asserting himself offensively. More Poyer High players have to get into the total offense.
Loose ball, fight, and out of bounds to the Big Reds. Boy, lots of hustle and bustle in there, Randy.
Well, we've already seen one player get hurt here, but again, inter-city rivalry here. Good to see players going for those loose balls.
Cedric Rogers now, guarded by Miller. Looks for the lane, reverse dribble. Pass to Andrew Diggins. Diggins out to Giancarlo. Giancarlo. Pass intended for Mullins, and he's going to be called for the foul.
We should point out that this Husky 10-2 lead so far. Matt Jamison, their leading scorer with 19.1 points a game, has not attempted a shot. So that's quite remarkable because he's usually the bread and butter of this team. But LaFonce Jackson's been on fire so far early in the first quarter.
Into the ballgame for Coach Pelt and the Big Reds, Terry Miller, wearing number 00. He's 6'3". He's that fine freshman that they brought up just a couple weeks ago. Davenport now with the ball for Northern, gives it off to Miller. Miller looking inside, don't go. Up to Davenport, top of the key. Off to Jackson, we're off to the races. He goes to key, and the whistle. The foul will be called on number 44, Andrew Diggins. T.J. Diggins, that's his first, team second.
Well, there's nobody on Port High that can stay with LaFonce Jackson one-on-one. LaFonce is just too quick, and he's fired up. Every time he gets the ball, he's taken to the hole. And if he continues to do that, he's going to create a lot of problems for Port High for the remaining of this ball game.
LaFonce Jackson won first of 2 here, as he was fouled in the act of shooting. 3:17 to go, 10-2 Northern. CPHS Channel 12 happy to be here at Northern High School for this season finale between these both fine high schools here in Port Huron. It's always a pleasure to bring the sporting events to you from CPHS Channel 12. Cedric Rogers now across the timeline off to Giancarlo. Giancarlo thought about a three-pointer, said nope. Now it's Diggins, guarded by Davenport. Shot will go. Full court pressure now deployed by the Big Reds. Huskies have no problem with it though. Miller all the way in, blocked by Brett Mullins. Jump ball's called, and on the possession rule, the Port Huron High Big Reds will put the ball in play.
Well, Jim Miller took that ball to the hole. Unfortunately, he got caught up underneath the basket and wasn't able to get the ball in off the glass. However, I think Jan should have gave it up. If he would have gave it up early, he would have had a 3-on-1 break.
Giancarlo now to Miller, Terry Miller. Off to TJ Diggins, off to Rogers. The Big Reds having difficulty putting the ball in the hoop so far. They only got 4 points. They only trail though by 6 with 2:28 to go. Giancarlo dribbles to his right, gets it off to Diggins along the baseline. Back to Giancarlo from 3, won't go. Rebound down by Diggins, off to Miller. Miller turnaround. Rogers turnaround is no good. He's going to be fouled, however.
TJ Diggins skied for that.
Jamison.
I'm sorry, Eric. TJ Diggins skied for that rebound and looked like he was going to put up the shot, fake the ball, put it into number 32 Cedric Rogers' hands, and he's going to shoot 2.
It's interesting to know, Randy, that your alma mater last night was victorious in the Big Ten. They're getting themselves prepared for the NCAA. Is that correct?
Well, we want Indiana one more time, Eric, and I can assure you that we will prevail next time we play them.
Rogers won't make any of the 2. It's still now 10-4 Northern with 2:08 to go. Miller off to Jackson, back to Miller. Davenport, top of the key. To Jamison. Guarded quickly by Rogers, off to Miller, over to Davenport, back to Jamison. Northern moving the ball very well along the perimeter. Davenport off to Jamison. There's his first shot of the game, won't go. Miller comes down with the rebound for the Big Reds.
I talked with Coach Speltz before the game, and he wanted to limit Port Huron Northern to 1 shot and then clear the glass, and you saw the fine freshman Terry Miller do exactly that.
Brett Mullins from 8 feet is good. Northern now by 4. Miller for the Huskies across the timeline. Jamison back to Miller, over to Davenport, top of the key. Back to Miller, down to Jamison. Looking inside, gets it to Bloomquist, whistle, and the foul underneath is going to be called on number 44, TJ Diggins.
Just before TJ got called for that foul, I was going to compliment him. He's overmatched size-wise, but he's doing the best he can trying to front Eric Bloomquist, and Eric's turning on him. They're leaning on each other, and finally, a little bit too much lean, and the referee called a foul.
Putting the ball in play is Brian Jamison into the ball game now. Coach Hanton with a little youth movement of his own now. Brian is 6'3", sophomore forward. LaFonce Jackson off to the races. Inside won't go. Bloomquist with the board won't go. And finally, number 22 for Port Huron High. That's Charles Anderson clearing the boards for the Big Reds. Jeff Zuloff from 3, no good. LaFonce Jackson with the board, bounce past Miller. Miller to the hoop. No, we're going to be called for the offensive foul. Tony Giancarlo holding his ground. And Miller will be called on the infraction.
Tony got to his defensive stance before Jan Miller did, and He's paying the price for that foul. I see him touching his head, but good call by the referee and a charging call on Jan Miller.
Ryan Mullins guarded by Brian Jamison. Off to Charles Anderson. Anderson shot, no good. Cleared by Bloomquist. Pass knocked away by Anderson. Diggins in the paint, the shot's up, no good, but the foul will be called on Eric Bloomquist.
Well, Poyer Northern opened up a quick 10-2 lead with about 3 minutes gone, and we've got 10 seconds left, and Northern's still stuck on 10. So offensively, they started out in a spurt and then have cooled off. And I think at the end of this first quarter, Coach Hand's going to have to talk to his team and definitely get Matt Jameson into the offense. He's only taken one shot. He's missed it, and I don't think that's what Northern's game plan is.
Diggins will get 2. We've got 10 seconds to go first quarter. It's Northern 10, the Big Red 6 here at Northern High School. His first shot is good. He'll get the second. The Big Reds now have scored 5 straight points to get themselves, again, right back into things here at Northern. Second shot, no good. He's going to be called, however, on the infraction. And so with 10 seconds to go, Northern will have the ball.
Eric, this game might come down to free throws, and so far both teams are combined 2 for 7. Not very good free throw shooting from either team tonight.
From the free throw line, the shot won't go. Jamison, though, Matt Jamison on the board, tips it in as the buzzer sounds. The basket will count, and the first quarter comes to a close with Northern ahead by a score of 12-7.
Big lift there offensively by Matt Jamison. The shot was up, no good, but he timed his jumper well, tipped it in just before the buzzer, and Northern leads by 5. Very good first 3 minutes, I will say that. Both teams came out explosive, kind of died off, and look forward to a good second quarter.
Do you look for this, Randy, to be a confidence builder as the teams enter the tournament next week?
Definitely. We're just a couple days away from March Madness. The districts open up next Monday night at L'Anse Creuse North, being the host team. And the Poyer Huskies open up against L'Anse Creuse North. Both teams have won about a dozen games. Very tough bracket. The winner of that game plays Romeo, who is the first seed in the pairings for that bracket. On the other side of the bracket, we've got Poyer and High drew a bye, and they will play Anchor Bay Wednesday night with the winner advancing to the district finals. And after tonight, it's one loss saying you're out. And again, that's what both teams play for all year.
Well, set to go now. Second quarter to go underway. Northern will put the ball in play. On the floor for Northern is Greg Clark, Matt Jamison, LaFonce Jackson, Eric Bloomquist, and Brian Jamison. Bloomquist inside, guarded by Mullins. Shot, turnaround, won't go. Loose ball, whistle underneath, and the foul will be called on number 22, LaFonce Jackson.
Now both LaFonce Jackson and number 34, Brian Jamison, went over the Poyer and High backs player. I believe High's in the 1-1, and again, free throws are going to mean a lot in this ball game.
Exactly. On the floor for the Big Reds as the second quarter gets underway is Tony Giancarlo, Brett and Ryan Mullins, Jeff Zuloff, and number 22 shooting the 1-1 is Charles Anderson. First one is good. He will get the second as the Big Reds are in the bonus. Compliment both teams' supporters tonight, Randy. Charles is going to be called on the infraction. That'll be the second one tonight against the Big Reds. But if you look across the way, you got the red and white very strong, and you got the blue and gold very strong. The team colors for both teams coming out very, very bright tonight.
Well, it makes for a good game when the fans are behind both teams. I'd like to encourage all the fans to come out to more basketball games. This is what it's all about. There's not much time left in the regular season, so hopefully we'll see a lot of people next week down at L'Anse Creuse North High School.
Giancarlo gets his first foul, team's fourth. Greg Clark now, top of the key, pass into Jamison. Jamison into Bloomquist. Bloomquist back to Jamison. Shot is up. No good, but he was fouled And we'll see what Mr. Haggard will call here at this point with 7:33 to go, second quarter. It's called on Brett Mullins, his first, team's fifth. So Randy, both teams now in the bonus.
A good give and go there between Matt Jamison and Eric Bloomquist. Matt got it down low to Eric. He saw Matt cut to the basket, got it back to him. The shot he missed, but he'll shoot two.
He puts the first one down. We'll get two into the ball game for Port Huron High. Number 32, that's Cedric Rogers. Also back in, number 44, TJ Diggins. It's 13-8 now, Northern by 5. 7:33 to go in the first half. Matt puts both of them down now, a 6-point lead for Northern. Cedric Rogers, top of the key, guarded by Jackson. Bounce pass, Charles Anderson. Anderson looking inside, nobody there. Gives it off to Brett Mullins, top of the key, over to Rogers. Cedric's shot won't go, hits the wire on the way up, following the bounce off the hoop, and Northern will put the ball in play.
Well, Cedric Rogers had a nice open shot there. Unfortunately, couldn't get it to go, and the rebound bounced high, so it's off to Port Huron Northern.
Whistle. And we've got Mr. Boss, Chet Boss, our referee from Mount Clemens, cleaning the floor off a little bit with some debris, and I like that. That was certainly precautious to the safety of the players.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I've seen a lot of things thrown on the court, and injuries can happen at any time.
The ball is stripped away by Rogers. He goes off to the glass and will score. Mullins, though, with the board, goes up, no good, whistle, and the foul is going to be called on Matt Jamison. And I believe, Randy, that might be his second.
Well, I don't know, Eric, about that one. The ball was kind of loose on the floor. I know Matt's disappointed. He thought they were going to call a jump ball, but that's not how the referee saw it. And you're right, that's two on Matt. And I'll tell you, if he gets the third one, he's got to sit down. That's again not in the game plan for Port Huron Northern for Matt Jamison to be on the bench at all.
That's foul shot won't go. No, Big Red's having trouble at the foul line. Jan Miller now guarded by Rogers into Jamison. James turnaround, whistle, foul will be called on number 22, Charles Anderson.
Matt did a little reverse layup there and got hammered on the arm, and I believe he'll shoot two.
Big Red's having difficulty with their free throws.
I think when this game gets over, the loser's going to look back at the free throw statistics. Neither team has been impressive from the charity stripe tonight. Although Mr. Jamison is 3 for 3 from there.
He puts the first one, he'll get the second one as he was fouled in the act of shooting. Into the ball game for Port Huron High, 00 is Terry Miller. He's a 6'3", 150-pound freshman. And number 10 is Michael Miller, also an underclassman, a 6', 150-pound sophomore.
Well, you've seen Coach Pelt substitute his 5 stars with 5 reserves. Port Huron High relies on a lot of people to get the job done.
Cedric Rogers across the timeline, guarded by Jackson. Top of the key. Free throw now inside the paint. Shot up, will score. Cedric Rogers on a turnaround. Cuts the lead to 6 now. Foul will be called now on number 32, Cedric Rogers. To the line for 1-1 will be Jan Miller. 6.5 to go, second quarter. Northern 16, Big Reds 10, in what has been an offensive struggle for both teams so far.
Cedric did a little razzmatazz move down there on the offensive end, made a nice basket, but in his hurry to get back on defense, got called for the foul.
Into the ballgame for Northern, number 10 is Greg Clark. Number 42 is Todd Bloomquist, giving his brother Eric a rest. Todd is a 6'5" sophomore center. Greg is a 5'9" junior guard. Jamison on the board, off the glass, will score. And Northern now matching their biggest lead of the night, 8 points. Cedric Rogers in the paint, shot goes up, no good. Loose ball picked up by Michael Miller, won't go. Terry Miller off the glass and scores.
Well, the freshman's not afraid to bang inside. He got the right opportunity and banked it in for his first 2 points of the evening.
Greg Clark, top of the key, bounce past Matt Jamison. Jamison to the lane. Up, off, left-handed shot, no good. TJ Diggins with the rebound. Rogers across the timeline. Gets it off to Michael Miller. Michael from 18, no good. Whistle, though, and the foul will be called. It appears to be TJ Diggins, and that's going to be his third.
Well, I think TJ is going to have to take a seat there. We got a lot of ball game left, and that foul's a little unnecessary. He's trying to get position, but the referee caught him giving a little elbow there, and he'll have to sit down.
Into the ball game for Poyer and High. Ryan Mullins will give Andrew Diggins a break at this point. Shooting 1-1 is 42. That's Todd, or I'm sorry, yes, 42. That's Todd Bloomquist. First one is no good. The rebound appeared to be in the Big Reds' Ryan Mullins' hands. Out of bounds, however, and Northern will put the ball in play. John Davenport underneath his own basket. Gets the ball off to Miller. Out to Jamison from three-point range. No good. Ryan Mullins with the rebound. Across the timeline, guarded by Todd Bloomquist. Off to Paul Gilbert. Gilbert over to Brett Mullins, top of the key, guarded by Miller. Into his brother Ryan. Ryan into the paint. Shot, no. Whistle. And the foul appears to be against Northern. Ryan Mullins will get 1-1. 42, that's Todd Bloomquist.
Husky foul number 42, Todd Bloomquist.
We've got three brothers acts out there tonight. We've got the Jamison brothers, the Brian and Matt, the Bloomquist brothers, Eric and Todd, and the Mullins brothers, Brett and Brian. So
exactly.
You don't see that too often.
Got some pretty proud parents up there in the stands somewhere tonight, Randy. Ryan puts the first one down, cuts the Northern lead now to 5, 18-13 with 5:26 to go first half. He'll get the second as the Big Reds are in the bonus, as are the Huskies. Second shot also good. Big Reds now with that full court pressure. LaFonce Jackson. Across the timeline, guarded by Cedric Rogers. Off to Miller now. Miller looking inside, takes Paul Gilbert to the baseline. Reverse dribble in the paint. Shot goes up and good.
Well, Jan Miller scored his first 2 points with about 5 seconds gone in the game, and his second basket comes with exactly 5 minutes remaining in the first half.
Ryan Mullins to the baseline, or Brett, no good. Ryan on the board, though, no good. Jamison off to Jackson. Here we go. LaFonce in the paint. The turnaround jumper is good. Northern with 4 big points quickly, and they're up by 8 again with 4:40 to go first half.
LaFonce and Matt Jamison both have 8 points to lead the Husky scorers so far in the ball game. And Matt Jamison got his first 2 points with about a second left in the first quarter, and he's really accelerated his performance in the second quarter.
Brett Mullins off to Ryan Mullins, over to Paul Gilbert now. Gilbert back to Ryan Mullins. Inside intended for Miller, tipped away, but Gilbert gets a loose ball, hands it off to Miller. Gilbert from 3. In and out, no good. Loose ball underneath. Out of bounds to Northern with 4:08 to go.
Well, so far Poyer and High's 0 for 3 from three-point range, and Poyer Northern's 0 for 1.
LaFonce Jackson now guarded by Rogers. Across the timeline, top of the key. Off to Matt Jamison. Goes inside to Eric Bloomquist. Strong. The foul will be called on Miller. That'll be his first. Eric Bloomquist to the line. Eric is a 6'6" senior center forward for Northern.
All night, Eric, that's all I can say. All night long with TJ Diggins on the bench. They're going to go to Eric Bloomquist down underneath all night long. And I'll tell you, if he doesn't make the baskets, he's going to shoot quite a few free throws before this night's over.
Exactly. His first shot is good. Into the ball game now for Poyer High is 22, Charles Anderson, giving Terry Miller a break. Northern now with their biggest lead, 9 points. Misses a second shot. 23-14 is our score in favor of Northern with 3:50 to go, second quarter. Brett Mullins from long range, no good. Jan Miller with the board, across the timeline. Off to Jackson. Jackson guarded by Rogers, inside, no good. Loose ball picked up by Charles Anderson. Pass intended for Rogers, stolen by Davenport. Into Jamison. Jamison looking from underneath for Jackson, stripped away by Brett Mullins. Now it's Rogers in the paint. Shot goes up. It will. Let's see what the call is. It appears to be a ball control foul. The basket will not count. Cedric Rogers is called with the offensive charge.
Big call there, big turnaround. That could have went either way. They could have given him the basket and then called a foul, but they didn't give Port Huron High really anything. And I tell you, that would have really tightened things up here if that basket would have counted and he would have been to the line.
Please move your car.
Port Huron High all year long, though, has notoriously been able to come back in all the games that they've been behind early. A few of them they have been successful in pulling out a victory. One of them just recently against the tough Mount Clemens team. On the other hand, Northern has had to fight and scratch pretty much for everything they've been able to get, and have not enjoyed leads like this early in a ball game. It's going to be interesting to see what happens.
That's been there's been hardly any blowouts all year long. Port Huron Northern comes in here 12-7 overall, and they could be a lot better than that. They're 1-3 in overtime games. So again, with any luck at all, they could be about 15 or 16 and 5. Port Huron High, on the other hand, this is definitely a rebuilding year for them. They lost some fine athletes last year. The whole starting five received basketball scholarships, but they've done a fine job. They're 9-10 overall. They win here tonight. They finished with a 500 season. Eddie Peltz has done a fine coaching job this year, as always, for the Big Reds.
Jan Miller baseline, bounce pass strong to Bloomquist, shot off the glass and good. Northern now by 11 with 3:05 to go.
Credit the pass there. Jan Miller did it all there. Eric just banked it in. Credit the move and a nice bounce pass to Jan Miller.
Rogers off to Jeff Zuloff. Zuloff top of the key, guarded by Bloomquist. Pass to Paul Gilbert now. Gilbert top of the key, guarded by Matt Jamison. Bounce pass to Zuloff. Zuloff. Shot from 12, won't go. Cleared by Jamison. He goes high, long pass intended for Jackson. Paul Gilbert now with the loose ball. Free throw extended shot. No good. Bloomquist with yet another rebound. LaFonce Jackson now across the timeline to Matt Jamison. Jamison looking inside. Now it goes top John Davenport from the free throw line. The shot no good. Bloomquist with the tip no good. Gilbert now on the loose board. Off to Michael Miller. Miller in the paint. Turnaround shot no good. But the foul will be called on, I believe, it's either going to be on Bloomquist or Davenport. It's going to be John Davenport, and I think Coach Hanton is taking a sigh of relief on that one.
Well, the last, we've had a couple of flurries here back and forth. Really an unnecessary pass by Matt Jamison that got picked off. Again, both teams a little out of sync right now offensively.
Eric Bloomquist clears the boards, gets an outlet pass intended for LaFonce Jackson that gets away from him, and the Big Reds will put the ball in play. 2:06 to go. 25-14, Northern by 11. Jeff Zuloff goes to the baseline. The ball stripped, but a foul will be called on Eric Bloomquist.
Jeff's too quick for Eric there. Eric tried to get position, but he was a step behind and got called for the foul.
Coming into the ball game for Northern will be number 50. That's Rick Odgers, a 6'2" senior forward, to give Eric a break at this point.
Even though Eric committed that foul, I've been impressed with Eric Bloomquist all year long. In my opinion, he gets the vote as the most improved player on the varsity team. Last year, he was a starter, but he had a knee problem, and this year he's really asserted himself, especially on the offensive boards.
Jan Miller now, guarded by Zuloff. Whistle and the foul will be called on Jeff Zuloff.
Again, we saw that on the other end just a minute ago, where Jeff beat Eric to the spot, and this time Jan beat Jeff to the spot. So again, defensively, you got to move those feet and establish position, or you're going to get called for that foul.
Into the ball game now for Poyer and High. Number 20, Giancarlo. Number 24 is Brett Mullins. And number 14 is Steve Steyer. Steve is a 5'8", 135-pound junior. Jan Miller to shoot 1-1 with 1:49 ticks left in the first half. Puts it in, he'll get the second. Northern now by 12. I'm sure Coach Peltz is happy, Randy, with his defensive effort so far of his ball club, but certainly has to be wondering about only 14 points at this point.
Well, again, as I said earlier, Poyer and High has to rely on a lot of people to get the job done, just not one or two. And so far, really no one. The high scorer is T.J. Diggins with 5 points, and he's been on the bench for most of the second quarter. So somebody's going to have to come to the forefront here for Poyer and High real quick.
LaFonce Jackson from the free throw line won't go. Loose ball out of bounds to the Big Reds. Cedric Rogers now. Across the timeline, guarded by Jackson. Pass into Michael Miller. To Giancarlo, top of the key, over to Rogers. Cedric Rogers dribble one time, no good on the shot. Loose ball picked up by Brian Jameson. Jan Miller now across the timeline. From the free throw line, the shot will go. Jan Miller's got a nice touch tonight, Randy. And Northern, go ahead.
Offensively, he's picked up the slack with Matt Jameson on the bench with 2 personal fouls.
Northern has more than doubled the score now on Poyer and High. They're ahead 29-14, inside a minute to go. Nice bounce pass from Miller to Rogers. Foul will be called on LaFonce Jackson. Into the ball game for Northern, number 52 is Dan Larison. Dan is a 6'3" junior forward. The foul's called on number 50, Odgers.
Well, Poyer and High really needs these free throws. They can't find their shooting touch, so these are freebies. They've got to make them.
Won't go, whistle. Appears to be a lane violation. It is. And Mr. Rogers will get a second chance at his 1-and-1.
I say he's going to make this. You never give a good player such as Cedric Rogers a second chance.
This time it will fall, and Randy's projection is correct, as usually it is.
I get lucky once in a while. But Poyer and High, again, really needs these. Somebody in the second half is going to have to assert themselves offensively, and I'll tell you, if they do, they're going to get a lot of playing time from Coach Peltz.
Ball goes out of bounds to the Big Reds. Give us an opportunity to announce that tonight, prior to this game, it's Snow Extravaganza Week here at Northern. We want to congratulate Andy Collins, being selected by the student body here at Northern as the Snow Extravaganza King. Our congratulations to Andy from all of us here at CPHS Channel 12 on that fine honor. Also previously tonight, the Northern freshmen finally did it to that Big Red freshman team. Northern winning 62-58. I believe that's the Big Red's freshman first loss of the season. I think both those teams end with just one loss, having beaten one another on their own home court. The JVs were also victorious over the Big Reds. The Northern Huskies winning that game 58-46. So the Husky varsity team going for the triple crown, if you will, of basketball here in Port Huron on this Friday night.
Well, so far you have to say they're definitely in the driver's seat, but we've got well over 1 half worth of action left, and again, I think when Andy Diggins comes back in there to start the third quarter, which I'm sure he will, I think you'll see a different Poyer and High team. He's definitely their leader. He's only a junior, and again, if Poyer and High can keep it close, you'll see a different Poyer and High team later in this ball game.
Odgers puts them both down. Northern by 16 now. Inside a half a minute to go, first half. Gilbert from 3. In and out. No good. Loose ball picked up by Greg Clark. Clark being hounded by Miller. Now he gets it off to Davenport. Tipped away out of bounds off of Rogers' hands. Brian Jameson to put the ball in play right below us. Gets it off to Larison, over to Davenport. Inside 10 seconds now. Northern looking to set up a play. Greg Clark off to Davenport from 3, no good, and the horn will sound. Our halftime comes to a close here. The score, the Northern Huskies 31, the Big Reds 15. Randy?
Well, Port Huron Northern outscored Port Huron High with Andy Diggins on the bench by a total of 19-8 in that second quarter. Northern's opened up a big 16-point lead. Again, Port Huron High has to find somebody, hopefully somebodies, plural, offensively, to take over the scoring while TJ Diggins is on the bench. But again, big rivalry, a big crowd. I look for a win or lose within 5 points before this night's over.
Well, that's the first half. Our score, the Northern Huskies 31, the Big Reds 15. We'll be back in just a few moments.